Hello everybody, this is the Pixel Knight and I am here with a new video, um, a dev blog of sorts, but I just want to kick this off by saying I am sorry I have not made a video in such a long time, um, but I have not been doing the greatest. I just got better after a year's worth of being sort of stuck in a psychological crisis, for lack of better vocabulary there. Um, I don't want to go into detail because it's a very personal thing, but yeah, that's why I haven't been uploading in a long time. Um, Also, too, I apologize for my microphone quality, but I am unfortunately out a microphone at the moment and can't afford to replace it. So you'll just have to bear with it until I can. But without any further ado, let's get started with the video of today. Today is to show off what I have been working on um, over the last couple of months here, since I've gotten back to programming again. Now, this is a project that isn't new, but I had to reconstruct from the ground up because the code base became, well, error prone and became too large and messy for me to be able to debug effectively. So I had to start over again. I got the end result ended up actually being a lot more optimized, a lot more responsive. And the problem I was having with my star generator is gone too. Because the problem before was it worked fine, drawing all the stars on the background, about a few thousand of them, until I increased the size of the room. Then it kind of stopped working. It just sort of broke at some point. So what I did instead is instead of drawing all the stars manually, is I created a tile that is fairly large. In fact, it's a little bit bigger than the view screen, squared. And then I tiled that in the background layer in the the as the level editor. And then what I did for these, and that's just these really small stars that you can see in the background, the white ones, none of the colored ones, the white ones. And then what I did is I went and created these slightly bigger sprites over here that are different colors. And I scattered about 1,000 of them across the height and width of the room on the asset layer. I randomized the coordinates basically like I did before, and I saved them inside of a DS list, yada yada, all the basic stuff to get that working. I'm not going to go into too much detail other than what I've already done because, well, it's not what I'm here to show off today. Do have some experimental what you see right now, I'm not even sure is all going to stay in, other than the inertia mechanics and the directional thrust, the basic movement stuff, essentially for a space game. And, fire, bullets. I don't know if I'm going to leave the fuel system in. What I'm here to show off is the menu system, the new menu system I'm working on. That's going to replace what I currently have. It's already a lot more optimized and it almost has the same features that are currently present, minus just the respawn buttons don't exist yet. fact, actually, I'll let you see that here in a minute. Since I'm almost dead. Here we go. So quick game, respawn. Respawn doesn't work. Quick game does currently. But that's the gist of what I got. I will be separating that, completely deleting that from the prototype in a little while, and importing this new one in when it's finished. It's going to include the save and load features that any good game is supposed to have, and all the menus and keybinds and, menus like load, options, save, keybinds, the title screen, the in-game menus, all that sort of stuff will be already working inside of this package before I export it to be put into the new one. But I'll show you what I currently have here real quick. Options, full screen currently works. Keybinds, nothing there yet. Audio, again, nothing there yet. I don't have a graphics menu yet because I haven't even gotten to that part, honestly. I will probably do that today. Load, again, nothing there yet. Continue, nothing happens yet. New game, it just goes here. Pause the game, resume works. Save game, technically something happens, but it's all behind the scenes because I haven't implemented the actual save function yet that I'm going to need, to save information to a binary file. A binary file is basically, if you don't know, is just an encrypted file, again, not user readable, that the machine can, that the program can store values in from any variable that you want to save for later load and use, without the player being able to go in there and look in and see, curious players, how we be sometimes, right? So I like to play video games too. It's not just you guys. But sometimes we like to look through the files and see what we can tamper with. And this will prevent people from cheating and ruining the game for themselves. Very important. It's a very important thing. But, yeah. So the options menu, got all these, keybinds, full screen works still from here. Keybinds back. Yeah, okay. So that, and then we got this, and that's it. That's what I have. And I did that by separating, okay, here's the part where it gets optimized. So I'm going to go, just for an example of what I mean, I'm going to go back into here and run this in debug mode. You can see already from here that there is a significant performance drop, because I think out of the box, GameMaker's performance is somewhere around like 9 or 10,000 true frames per second. This up here is true frames. It's not what you would see in, like, if you were to use the debug function for FPS to display the frames per second. It's way more accurate. It's showing you actually like the actual frames, the real frames that you would be getting. That's not fantastic even for a title screen. I mean, it's not going to affect anything because gameplay doesn't happen on the title screen. And frankly, if this was a full game and this was not the title screen, and that's how many frames I was getting, I would say that it's fantastic. But in the context of a full game, that's not fantastic. And look, even without the menu drawing, I'm still only getting 4,000 or 4,000 and a half true frames per second with nothing happening. Again, there isn't much in this game yet, so it really shouldn't be dropping that far. And then if I open the menu, well, you can see there's a big problem already, because the more that I add to the game, if I only have 3,000 frames per second to be working with, performance-wise, this early on in development, that's really not good. But I fixed that problem by separating the title screen and the in-game menus in separate objects. Because before I had everything under the sun inside of this draw event. This is the performance cost right here. Is I have everything in one event. I'm drawing stuff in the same event. I'm checking whether or not the bounding box is collided with the mouse, and then I'm passing a variable to the I'm passing what it returns to this to then determine what happens when you click on said button. And then I'm doing that with the title screen up there, and I'm also doing that with all the buttons in the main game, or the in-game screen, and I'm taking into account for what room it's in, the object at the time, what it's not in, and just, it's a bunch of extra checks that just sort of really add up. It used to look a lot worse, actually, because I used to be using, before I wrote my functions for button logic, it was just really, really not good, because I was basically copy pasting these all over the place in there, and it became very long and unwieldy. And though I could work with what I currently have, I knew I needed to start over from scratch. So instead of trying to fix it in the same project, I just started over with a fresh project and decided that I will later import it as a package into this project here. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm just going to show you the difference in performance. So it's about the same here on the title screen, but when I go into in-game, you can see a drastic difference in performance while the menu isn't being drawn. And when the menu is being drawn, that is still a very drastic difference. Instead of about 3,000 to 2,000 frames per second to work with for the total rest of the game, I have about 6,000 if the game is paused. And if the game is not paused, I have about 8,000 consistent frames to work with in total, frames per second for performance, which is much better. And I would say for a game of my scope, that's actually just fine. Now, I'm going to quickly show how this works. So I got a script, right? In the script, I have my global variables that I need for this to work. And then I got a few functions for initializing structs and create events. I separated them into groups for menus, so what goes in those menus basically. And then I created a couple of functions for drawing buttons and detecting whether or not a mouse cursor is inside of a bounding box, a rectangle basically, that supersedes over the exact portions of the sprite that I'm using. And the sprites that I'm using are actually just squares that I do a 9 slice. It's a 9 slice image basically. If I go down here and kind of see what that means. Okay, that should be. I'm gonna need to fix this. It's supposed to be a 9 slice image. I guess I forgot to do that in this current version, so I'm gonna do that real quick. There's one. It's really easy to do. Um, 9 slice. Just make sure it's working as it's supposed to. It's not yet. Select slice, probably the center, right? It says stretch. Let's do repeat. Since I'm only stretching horizontally, that's fine. I'm stretching with the multiplier, so that's fine too. So I got one done. Let's fix the other one. Usually I do this stuff off camera, but I want to fix it now that I already see it. It's a very quick fix, so there. Now the button should look a lot better. So let's look in game real quick. Oh yeah, a lot more crisp, a lot better. Okay. So essentially I'm drawing a 9 slice sprite based off of whether or not this returns a 0 or a 1, this function here. And if it returns a 1, then it draws this sprite here, which is the selected one. It's a slightly brighter version of this first one. And if it isn't returning a 1, but it's returning a 0, then it's going to draw the default sprite. So if the mouse hovers over it, it lights up. If it doesn't, then if it isn't hovering over it, then it goes back to normal. That I'm actually drawing the sprite, and I'm stretching it by a multiplier on the x-axis, the horizontal axis. And then I'm drawing text over it. And the text is based off of the label inside of the struct for the button itself. And I'm packing these structs into an array dynamically, so it grows over time essentially, based off of it. It grows over time. How can I say this in a way that's a bit easier to understand and makes more sense? I'm incredibly tired right now, but what I am trying to say is that I am packing these buttons into an array based off of which menu that I am currently navigating at the time. What list of buttons are in it, basically, these will be populating it. And actually, I'll just show you that real quick so you can really see. It's much easier that way. Build dynamic array. Yeah, build dynamic array. So in here, I got a couple of flags just to, to toggle whether or not the array has been populated or not. So it's not just doing it infinitely, otherwise it just will never show up because it'll be populating, then clearing, populating and clearing, populating and clearing. You don't want that. Um, Mainly because the way I designed it before. That's what was happening to me. That's not necessarily what would really happen. Just ignore that. So, I got this. I have an array that's already a variable that's predefined with a value of -1 by default. And then I have array length. If array length is less than 0, then, no, is greater than 0, then array delete title menu array length buttons. This essentially what it's doing is it's resetting the array to be filled with buttons again in case you anytime that this is triggered. So if flag array is not populated, then it does this. So if flag array is populated, then it doesn't do that. It's just a flag or a boolean to tell the program, hey, do we need a new menu built now? If the answer is yes, then it destroys the old menu and creates the new one based off of the specific menu, the current menu, that's the menu's index that you're currently navigating into, which is menu flow.title in this case. And then it just pushes the structs into the array from top to bottom in order of which that they're supposed to be displayed on screen. And then it turns the flag array populated to true, so it stops doing this. And then it stops there. After it's done that, because none of these other ones are going to be true, because only one of these states can be active at a time, there'll only be that first one ever activated unless you navigate to another menu. That's how that works. So it's building the array and then it's destroying it when it's no longer needed and building another one. Based off of, some conditional logic here. And then it's using that array in the draw GUI event to, well, draw the buttons actually, to draw the buttons and to define the boundaries of the bounding box. And if your mouse cursor is hovering over one of the buttons, it then does the little check to see if that specific button in the array's position is the one being hovered over. And if it is, and you've clicked on it, then it sends a update to the struct that it's currently on, and updates the its was selected boolean to true. Otherwise, it toggles it back to false. That way you can click on a button and it will, it'll update that and it will go and send information to here to actually do something with that. So in the case of, I've clicked on full screen, it'll be, okay, you've clicked on full screen, it's updated the was selected for full screen, and then now it's running the code inside there, which is just a toggle to full screen. And that's it. That's essentially how that works. And the reason why I chose to do it this way is because, well, I don't know. Two reasons actually. I really like the idea of building a dynamic array to handle a lot of this. It was the first time I've played around with that. But also because, at least at the time, it felt like it would be more efficient in the long run to do it that way, because I could just create more structs to create more button types with their own unique information stored inside of them, and then just populate the array based off of where they're being drawn, what menu. And so far, it seems to actually be quite a bit more efficient than what I was doing before. Because before I was, at least I wasn't hard coding them. I'll just put it that way. But yeah, that is about it for this video. If you liked what I was showing off here, please do leave a like and, I don't know, subscribe if you want. But that is it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and yeah, all right, bye-bye.